Peace in the Middle East. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Average American Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Tate, the podcast for the Average American by the Average American. And it seems we have a deal. The author of The Art of the Deal, President Donald J. Trump, has announced that, well, he hasn't announced, but he's also not announced, which is enough of an announcement to know that it's probably accurate. But it has been announced that there is a MOU or Memorandum of Understanding, a ceasefire agreement, if you will, in place between the United States and Iran. We've received a lot of different details as to what may be specifically in this deal. We don't know yet. We're assuming, or at least from what I've heard and seen from other people, that one, some of the Iranian money that's been frozen is to be released to them, although that has been unconfirmed. But about 12 billion of the 24 billion. But it was reported that might need to be up front. We really don't know yet. I would find it hard to believe that Trump would up front just to negotiate. So I don't know that that's true, nor do I think it's true. The second part of it seems to be the real sticking point here, is that Lebanon, according to Iran, is part of this agreement. And the U.S. has rebutted, saying that Lebanon is not part of the agreement. And has also been reported that Israel completely rejects the idea of Lebanon being part of the agreement in any way, shape, or form. So the other part of this that seems to be interesting enough, and from what I've read, the initial reports of it were incorrect, but there's a $300 billion slush fund. I guess that's the layman's term to use it. They call it an investment asset account, essentially. It's $300 billion that will be provided access to Iran to rebuild infrastructure, to pursue forward with their economic goals, things like that. Initially, it was reported that the United States, would be delivering this $300 billion as long as the circumstances surrounding what was put in place for the $300 billion were met. But as I've seen upon further reports, it does appear that this will mostly be provided by the Gulf Coast countries, the GCC countries, and some private companies in the U.S. that probably wish to see this come to a close. So far, we're not seeing any extra taxpayer money, although it's not like the $70 billion that was spent to destroy the fucking place was not already a problem. But at least, according to what we have so far, there is no more taxpayer money that will be funneled into Iran for any more parts of this war, as of right now. Now, what we know is that the peace agreement has been signed digitally. That came straight from J.D. Vance himself. But it is to be signed officially in person. Some reports said Sunday, and then the Vatican News said Friday in Switzerland, and I think that makes more sense on neutral ground. But it has been, most of these peace talks have been facilitated by the Pakistanis, so who really knows where it could end up being or when it could take place? The real problem is that's 4 days for Israel to absolutely fucking nuke any opportunity of seeing this peace deal go through. Actually, I have here a clip of Ben Gvir, the Israeli defense minister, and Beelzebub Smotrich, that's not his real name, but seems pretty appropriate for the things that he said, and what, how they feel about this Iran-U.S. deal. So,
למדינת ישראל אסור לקבל את הפסקת האש בין ארצות הברית לאיראן. אנחנו חייבים לפעול מתוך תודעה ברורה ובלתי מתפשרת. ביטחון אזרחי מדינת ישראל מעל הכל. מדינה ריבונית אינה קבלן ביצוע של שום מעצמה. היא אינה מחויבת להסכמים שסותמים את הגולל על היכולת שלה להגן על העם שלה. אנחנו חייבים להמשיך להרוס את הבתים בדרום לבנון. חייבים להמשיך להרחיק את התושבים בדרום לבנון. חייבים להמשיך לחסל מחבלי חיזבאללה בלבנון. כל שבר או רחפן, כל טיל, כל ירייה שמשוגרת שנורית לעברנו, אנחנו צריכים להגיב עליה באופן חד משמעי, וכן, גם להגיב בדחיה. אנחנו חייבים להמשיך לפעול בלבנון, אנחנו חייבים להמשיך להיות עצמאיים, אנחנו אוהבים את הנשיא טראמפ, אבל אנחנו לא מקבלים את ההסכם שהוא חתם עליו, וחייבים להמשיך בדרך שלנו.
ההסכם עם איראן הוא הסכם רע לישראל ולעולם החופשי כולו. אסור שלאיראן יהיה נשק גרעיני. ישראל תמשיך לפעול בכל הכלים העומדים לרשותה כדי להפיל את משטר האייתולות הרצחני הזה באיראן ולמנוע ממשטר הטרור הזה להפוך למדינת סף גרעינית. המבחן המיידי שלנו כעת הוא בלבנון. המטרה היא להפוך את ההישגים המשמעותיים שהצבא שלנו השיג והלוחמים הגיבורים שלנו השיגו. אנחנו צריכים להפוך את זה למציאות ביטחונית חדשה ויציבה עבור תושבי הצפון.
And in that clip, you saw that Ben Gvir was basically saying that they have to continue to bomb Lebanon. They have to continue to reject Iran and any peace that may be reached with Iran. But it seems like most of this relates to Lebanon. When the Lebanon part of it becomes included is when it really seems to be a sticking point for the Israelis. Because realistically, Iran has no nuclear program currently. Has the capability, but has not enriched. And while they say Iran cannot have a nuke, we already had that with the JCPOA, and we had a system in place to monitor what they were doing with the JCPOA, and they were more hurt by sanctions at the time, and the Strait of Hormuz was open, and you could pile on 1,000 different reasons as to why the JCPOA, granted I think Obama was a terrible president, was probably one of his crowning achievements in terms of preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Their enrichment was capped at 3.7, which is only used for social situations, energy infrastructure, so to speak. And I think that Trump himself has maybe reached a point where they've just done too much to put too much pressure on this guy. And domestically, what he's feeling from the people, what he's going to start feeling internationally, the longer the strait is closed, and the more that our allies in those Asian countries, specifically the Southeastern Asian countries, like Japan, Thailand, places like that, that are, feeling the effects of this sort of global kidnapping of resources, if that's what you want to put it. I mean, they're just holding the world hostage by controlling 2 different ports of entry. And so I'm very hopeful that this deal will end up going through, that it will be agreed upon. They have 60 days after the signing of the deal to iron out the nuclear enrichment details. But as of right now, it seems that they're going to remove, I don't mean to say remove. Seems like they're going to establish a ceasefire, create lasting peace, they hope, and get out of this fucking war, to be honest. which is what we've all wanted Trump to do for a while. We haven't really felt the effects of the energy crisis yet as it trickles down into the manufacturing. But let's be realistic. I think, like I said, Trump has had enough. Here's a clip of Trump talking about Israel in Lebanon, what they're doing, and how he might hand it over to Syria if Israel can't get their shit together and do their achieved goals or whatever. So here's a clip of Trump on Fox News.
Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it.
Is that job on board?
And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It wasn't like in the southern side, and it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it, not at all. But I think that Syria, he's pulled that country together amazingly quickly. He's very capable, and he's been very good for me. He's protected everything that I've asked for. He's done. And if Israel can't do the job without killing everyone else, he'll do the job. Syria will do the job.
And in that clip, he talks about the guy of Syria who was Jelani, who is the Bin Ladenite head chopper that I previously spoke about in my 4-part series of U.S.-Israel or U.S.-Iran Middle East relationships. But he's saying, who knows, maybe that guy would do it more effectively. I don't know that he really cares what happens in Lebanon. The problem is that Lebanon is preventing, specifically Hezbollah, and their involvement is preventing Iran from sticking to the agreement and the deal, and that's really what seems like Trump wants. And you saw in that video that, and I haven't seen this from Trump, but dude, he looks exhausted. I mean, that might be, that's 5 a.m., red-eye flight, haven't slept a wink, looking Donald Trump, who might actually be feeling the effects of this war and the effects of the stress that his second term has put on him because he allowed himself to get drawn into this. Not once, but twice. The 12-day war, he could walk away from, say it was a success, say it was this, say it was that, and it'd be more plausible, right? It would be more arguable to at least say that he had some successes in the 12-day war, that it was a mostly successful campaign, right? The Venezuela capture of Maduro and the changing of guard in their regime to be more favorable to the United States instead of, China and Russia. China specifically, who was trying to build up oil infrastructure in Venezuela. We're just not getting that with Iran. We're not getting anything good out of Iran. And basically what we have is back to the JCPOA, just with Donald Trump's name slapped on it, and they'll give it a different fucking title. And so I hope that this peace deal lasts. I hope that we can see, some kind of resolution permanently achieved. And I know that this is, nobody wants, especially as a United States citizen, wants to look like the guy who turned tail and ran, but we've done that a ton of times. Vietnam comes to mind. Afghanistan comes to mind with Biden in office. And so this wouldn't be the first time that we've cut bait and run. Shout out to the Kurds for being smart enough to stay out of this. They're like, fuck it, we're staying in Iraq. We're not doing this shit. So more power to them. But yeah, we still got a lot of waiting, still got a lot of time. We don't know, as we saw with Gavir and Smotrich, we don't know what Israel's planning to do. But we do know that there is some kind of framework in place to set this deal up, and that the administration seems very happy to try and push this forward. And as we saw with Trump, for him trying to publicly rein in the Israelis, which I don't know is the best solid strategy, but this is the first time you've heard him actually really criticize the Israelis the entire time this war has been going on. So I really think he's reached a breaking point. But I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about this, or maybe give me a prediction on what you think will happen. But other than that, man, I'll see you guys next time. Have a good week. Peace.